Well, welcome back everyone. I know, a video. What's going on here? Well, another deck profile is what's going on here. And if you're asking what the hell I'm wearing, don't, because Labor Day, I've been on a binge for the last 72 hours and I'm here to talk with a man who got 4th place on the G3 team, Biriarr, and it was cocaine. At Niagara Falls, who was hosting it? Carta?
Yep.
Carta. It's Canada. Of course they're hosting Carta. Taking 4th place with this Goku deck. Let's see what's up. Let's see what these last couple of sets have been given Green, that extra spicy dip.
Sounds good, my friend. Well, thank you for doing the recording and everything as always. And yeah, like you said, I ended up coming 4th place with the green Goku deck, Nameku, whatever the heck everyone wants to call it. I'll just call it Goated Ku because this is just nasty. Right?
Fits the shoe.
But yeah, so I'm gonna go a little in depth here, people. So I'll try and be as quick as I can, but I do like to make sure people understand my mindset because I don't find just seeing a list as seeing a list. That's whatever, you can see a million lists, but if you know my thought process, you probably can emulate and do well on your side too.
Amen.
But yeah, either way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to see a shorter version of the list, we do have this on our team channel, Game 3. It'll be linked in the description below. But Biriarr has done a shorter list. This was what, with last sets format was the last time? Yeah. So that was the last regional that you brought that to, right? So if you want that, you can have it. But this is the updated in-depth. This is that Biriarr mix right here. Let's see what's up.
So, without further ado, so we did play the green Goku leader, of course, and the leader front side, it's probably the worst part of the leader. When he attacks, top 5 search, grab 4 lists, Earthling, Nameku, and Huseyin, green. It's the worst part of the deck. This is literally the only part of the deck that I don't like is the front side. It's trash, but whatever. And then the awaken condition, you just need a 2-cost Z unison, and you can awaken. You untap 1, draw 1, you go to 6. Life's easy, right? Nothing too crazy. Awaken side, leader swings for 20k. He gets plus 5k for the battle, basically. He has an auto where one of your cards gains blocker. You can put a green battle card from your drop to the Z energy. And then he has an activate battle, which is the best part about the deck, where you can draw 1 and then give any one of your cards plus 5k for the battle. So this leader has a lot of good stuff to it. The fact is he's generic. You can build him, honestly, however the heck you feel, which is great. Hand control focus, healing pod builds, or, 8 builds, or, my good generic good stuff builds. Like, there's a lot of ways to do it, which is fantastic, of course. And the leader auto, with the synergy that it has with the Bardic Unison, means that you can play very well around cards like Explosive Dance, and you can build up Z energy to certain counts that you need to play certain things at the right time. So there's obviously a lot to like about the leader. And the other big thing too is the fact that because you do activate battle, draw 1, you basically counteract the downside of Dormant, where every other green deck, when they use Dormant, it's a -2 in hand. You get to draw a card in that battle phase anyway, so now the downside of Dormant has been mitigated. And the same thing with Uneasing, where if you were to pay 1 to do the Floodgate, well, you're going to use drew a card. Now you're only really doing total 1 card out of hand for the Floodgate versus, going -2. Or if you do it for free, you would normally go -3, but now you just go -2. So it's just a very, very good leader for that reason. It basically, it's kind of like how Green Gohan used to be the best green deck because Uneasing auto would draw out a card. Well, now it does that instead. But anyways, so we got the leader, of course, and then I ran a package of 1-drops, of course. So I ran a playset of Vegeta protecting his loved ones. Cards obviously fantastic. It just does a lot of really good things. Obviously, it's the D-Magic Silver Bullet, just in case you run into Tapion, or a Beerus Ramp, or a Soul Striker, because Soul Striker's back on the menu, or Aegis Gogeta, of course. But at the end of the day, it's a barrier. Your Z Unison can give it blocker, so now you go barrier blocker, and also the new regional Goku Negate can give it blocker, so this card just becomes really valuable throughout the whole course of the game. You can always play it on your turn 1, give it blocker, and just not block with it on turn 2, and then leave it up for a later turn, like turn 3, turn 4, where you give it blocker, or use the Goku Negate to give it blocker. And then it becomes very hard for your opponent to deal with this, because now they gotta waste their bear removal on a cantrip. And if you're wasting your bear removal on a cantrip, I'm winning, buddy. You're losing the trade here.
Yeah, that's true.
So, protecting his loved ones. Really good card. I always recommend 4 copies. You can go a little less if you want, but I recommend 4. The next card that I ran was 4 copies of the Gohan TP. On play, draw 1. Fantastic card. And then activate main when it's in your Z energy. You can send it from the Z energy to the warp to give your Bardock Z Unison Biriarr until the end of your opponent's turn. This is obviously a very crucial card for the deck. I would say if you don't, like, you can play the deck without it, but I really recommend you get this TP. I used to run 3 copies in my previous lists, but because Kidku is so prevalent, you need to be able to see this as fast as possible to make sure your Unison on turn 2 has the barrier.
That it has markers and doesn't instantly get wiped from 2 vanillas being played.
Stupid ass deck. But anyways, really, really good. And then they did update the rulebook very recently, but the ruling's been clarified and everything. So just to understand, make it clear, because this is what the ruling is now. If they change it later, I don't know, but this is the ruling. When the leader puts the card from drop to Z energy, it sends the card from drop to Z energy with its skills negated for the turn, but that's for the movement. And then once it's in the Z energy, I don't know, I believe it's like it's considered a new card there or some stupid thing like that. But basically, I can do the activate main. That ruling was more related to something where, like, if I had the SGR in my drop and I Z charge it, I wouldn't be able to do the, obviously I wouldn't be able to do the pay 1, remove 3 just for, you know, drawing a card and, you know, giving so many blockers. So just be aware the ruling is this can go from here to here and then you can do the activate main. That is how it works for now. Unless they change it later on.
Give it a week.
I don't know. Who knows? With Bandai. Honestly, who knows? And then we ran 4 copies of Paragus Super Combo. I mean, it's defending Father Paragus. Card's broken. What do you want me to say? 0-10k whenever you need, and then draw 2 Warp 1 when you had 4 or less. Really good card. You can run the Great Saiyaman. You can run the Beto. There are actual arguments for the Beto because you build up Z energy yourself without even having to swing. You can have 2 plus Z energy anyways, and you can play the whole game at 6 life and just keep super comboing earlier, which is great. But because red is so popular, I found with experience that because you're gonna have to play around explosive dance, you're gonna have to use your Z energy. So having a super combo that needs you to have X amount of Z energy to even function, it's not the play in this current meta. If Kidku gets hit, red's a bit less popular. Okay, maybe you can consider running Beto or maybe like a 2-2 split or something like that. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you can run whatever super combo you want. You don't have to listen to what I say, but Paragus is just good. Because sometimes, even in a pinch, even if you're at 6 life, you can be like, you know what? Oh, you're swinging triple strike 25? Cool. I'll activate battle, draw 1. I'll go 30. Fuck the draw 2. Who cares? I'll just get the 10k boost. It doesn't matter.
That's the nice thing about Paragus, too, because Great Salmon and Beat are both 0/0s, right? And they don't get their thing until they're auto-satisfied. Paragus, at least, worst case scenario, you're not at 4 life, which, you know, a more aggro format, you're probably going to be hitting 4 life. So that's what you're saying, having the Paragus. But just having that 0-10 alone for any kind of, like, combo fuckery, you still kind of have that, which is nice.
Exactly. And it actually came up in the regional this weekend. One of my opponents did some swing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not taking that. I'm just going to 0-10. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. And
then I ran 4 copies of Vegeta Face Off with an Emperor. I mean, this card is honestly one of the most broken cards in the game, in my opinion. A 1-cost 16k that KOs anything and then untaps it end of turn if you have your Z Unison out is really, really good. And then naturally with this deck, of course, like, your turn 2, you can have some really fun sequencing where you can do, where, like, for example, you already have your cantrip on play, whatever, you've got your Z energy, you swing, you do your top 5 search, whatever, you play your Z Unison, you awaken, you untap 1, draw 1, swing with Z Unison, you go, you know what, pay 1, play Vegeta, kill something on the opponent's board, give the Vegeta blocker, draw 1, swing with Vegeta, activate battle, go 21k, and that damage is probably going through, because if you're on turn 2 and your opponent's on turn 1, they're not going to outcombo 21k. That's like 3 cards out of hand, and then you pass your opponent, and now this is an active mode 16k, but then when you block, you go activate battle, go to 21. Now your opponent has to decide, oh, am I really going to combo 2 cards on my leader swing to kill this? Probably not. That's a lot. You're making your opponent make these really crappy decisions really early. So the card's great. I would also say, like, it obviously, I've always said in every other video as well, but the Piccolo Face Off with Emperor is also a good card. I just can't make room for it in my list because there's certain things in the meta that I have to respect. so I can't make the room for it. But if you can run it, if you think you can run it, you're crazier than me, or you'd run a higher deck count than I do, because I'm at 54. By all means, the Piccolo is also good because that one just says draw one, same conditions as the Vegeta, and he's just as good, and he's potentially even better as a turn 2 play, because usually your opponent doesn't have anything you want to kill on turn 2. Usually, some decks there is, but there is some niche scenarios where like Piccolo is better, because normally with this deck, when you do the standard turn 2 play, as long as you saw a cantrip on turn 1, you usually pass your opponent with 10 cards in hand. But if you do the Piccolo, you pass your opponent with 11 cards in hand on turn 2, which is a lot. Like that is a lot. It's nothing to scoff at, right? So I will say that. And then I ran 4 copies of the Goku face-off with the Emperor. This is like one of the best green cards in the game. Like I don't even know how. So like, I mean, you pay 1, you draw 1, no matter what. It's a 19k base. If it gets removed, you KO anything, which is fantastic. You have a blocker on board. It restands, gets plus 5k for the turn. Like, even like normally green decks, you want to go second because you want to play your father-son duo, whatever. But this SR in this deck makes it where you don't even mind going first, and sometimes you honestly kind of prefer to just go first, because being able to have that pressure of, you know what, I'm going to pay 1, play this guy, draw 1, give it blocker, draw 1, or give something else blocker, draw 1, and go 24-24. And then you have something else there you can, block with anyways. You swing with like the Vegeta, for example. You swing with whatever else, and then you can like pay 1 more to play something else, or you can hold on to like pass your opponent with 2 energy, and then now you can like, if you know they're going to be aggressive and take it to 4, you can hold 1 energy for an uneasing, and then you can always hold another energy for like an EDK or like the Goku negate or something like that. And then yeah, it's just, this card is really really good in the deck, and obviously it's great against anything that has a board wipe. Blue hates this card because if they play Cell Z card, you kill the Cell. If they go Oob SR and they choose this, well, they lose their Oob, so they don't want to do that, but they have to do it because this card is a pain for them to deal with. If they go Beast Gohan, it's dead. If you force your opponent to Secret ID, it's bad for them. Even against Kidku, right? Like if they minus this out, let's say they go, they go the SR, like the SR into the Skillus, and you still have this on board. Like what are they going to do? They're either going to choose this, they're going to choose their Unison or something else. But if you give her a Unison barrier, well, what are they going to do? They kind of have no choice, like, because you can block with this and go to 29 and then combo a card and then restand it. So if they don't like combo up on their 30k swings anyways, then you're naturally winning that trade, and then you just block again and now you beat all their aggression. And if they kill it, then you kill their double trigger. So you don't give a crap. It's win-win either way. It's just a really good card in the meta. It answers a lot of stuff, and yeah, people hate facing it. It's good, man.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I ran 2 copies of the Strategies for an Unknown Enemy. That was a long ass name.
This is the new one, right? The one of the regional promos.
Exactly, yeah, the regional promo. This card is fantastic. So Sparking 4, it goes down to a 1 cost if your leader's green. It's a 5 cost normally, and then negate the attack, play this card, and then when it's played, auto limit 1. You basically can choose up to 2 total cards among all your green Saiyan cards, your green Z battle cards, and your opponent's battle cards, and you give them blocker for the turn. Really, really good card. So like I was saying earlier, you can literally, like, you can do some silly stuff, like you can have the protecting its level 1 on board, you negate with this, and then give itself protecting its level 1 blocker, and then now you leave your opponent like, alright, so I stop your swing, and I got 2 more blockers on board. One's a 20k, one's a barrier 4k. Do your worst. Or you could even do something where it's like you had the Vegeta in play, that already had blocker, you negate the swing, you give this guy blocker, and let's say you had Goku in play as well, now you give the Goku blocker, and now you look at your opponent like, yeah, I got 3 blockers on board, and one of them's a 24k dual blocker. Go ahead, do your worst, right? Like there's a lot to like about the card, and it being a 20k base is really nice for multiple reasons. Obviously, when you're trying to play around explosive dance, this being a 20k means your Goku can swing in, your Vegetas can swing in, and then you do the active battle to restand, and 20k is just that sweet spot number. Like Z leaders are 20ks usually. Your opponents have bean effects, they go to 20. Cool, now you're still pressuring them anyways, and if they're still at 15k leaders, you're pressuring 2 cards out of hand. It's just a really good card. There are some arguments to maybe even go to 3 copies in all seriousness, but I found 2 was good, maybe 3. I don't know. I'm not 100% certain on that one, but we'll see. And then I ran obviously 1 copy of Charismatic because charismatic villain is charismatic villain. I I don't need to elaborate on this. Y'all already know. I will say one nice thing though about Charismatic, where most players will usually just combo it away right away. In this deck, because your leader can give anything a plus 5k boost, you can always just go swing with it and again give it plus 5k and go 15k for doing nothing, which is nice. And then you can still do your other swings with all their base power and not give a crap. So Charismatic, card's good. Really good against Kidku when they play their double striker. You just kill it. Really good against, everything. Honestly, it's good against everything, right?
It's the real green
might
SCR.
be kind of bad, right? It's the real green SCR. I think it's only bad against like green, sort of, but not really. It's just good, right? I mean, the card honestly should have been banned, but whatever. I'm happy they made it limit 1, so at least I can use it, but it should have been banned. And then I ran the Faded Rivals package. I did slim down the numbers a bit to make room for other stuff, so I had to go down to 2 Piccolo Juniors from before, where I used to run 3-3. But we had the Faded Rival Goku and the Faded Rival Piccolo, of course. And then with the Faded Rival Goku, obviously on play, kill something. You bottom deck a card in your Z energy, so you use a super combo. Now you technically have a 5th super combo to use throughout the course of the game, which is always nice. And it's very crucial against the Vegito matchup because you can just be like, oh, you have a barrier blocker? Yeah, we'll just play this and kill it. And then now they're sad because you killed their barrier blocker, right? And then you can always swing with it, or you can leave it up and give it a blocker and be like, yeah, I have a 30k barrier blocker. Have fun with that. You just pull the Vegito method instead. And then, of course, the Faded Rival Piccolo being able to give you, the ability to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, both if you can attack twice with it, and also the fact that it can snipe unisons if you have a bunch of Z energy, just makes it really, really nice. A very, very strong package. I know a lot of people don't run it. I think y'all are trolling for not running it. This is really strong. Do not sleep on it.
Especially in this fucking deck. Are you kidding me? All the Z energy you get and that Z unisons are prevalent. Like, just having the Piccolo be able to, play this, gone.
Exactly. It's such a good card. Like, do not sleep on this, people. This package is still very potent. And if your deck can make the room for it, I strongly suggest running it. There's no reason not to. It's so good. And then I ran 3 copies of the Ground Shaking Fury Goku. I mean, y'all know. Board wipe for 4, triple striker, potentially triple strike dual attack. If it gets removed by a skill, your opponent's got to discard 3. There's so much to like about this card. I can't really say this card's bad in any way, shape, or form. The thing you got to watch out for is, of course, is like yellow can negate its skills and then remove it, but whatever. That means they got to use a card to negate its skills. They got to use another card, so you've already made them basically discard 2. They've had to waste 2 cards for that. There are situations where and it actually can come up where your opponent goes, oh, we'll negate its skills. And then you're like, cool, don't really give a shit. And then you still have the U-Fool on board, and you can still do the redirect. Because the U-Fool doesn't need this to have its own skills, so you can still do the redirect. So the card's really strong. I would always suggest, if you're playing a green deck and you can make room, always run at least 1 copy in every green deck. I don't care. It's just good enough. Be able to pay for and say, yeah, I'm done with your shit. And just go, yeah, I'm going triple strike. You better have a negate. Oh, you don't have a negate? All right, time to die. Right? There's no reason not to. However, I will say, in the regionals, whenever I had to sideboard, I would usually find myself siding out, a 3rd copy for, other stuff, but that's fine. That's why I intentionally run more cards than I need, technically. Because if I need to side, well, guess what? My life is easy. I can move 1 of this, 1 of that, yada yada, and there's no pain, right? And then I ran 3 copies of Father-Son Solidarity. I found 3 copies to be enough. You can go 4, really doesn't matter. You draw enough that you should see at least 2 copies throughout the course of the game, but if you want to be more safe, by all means, you can go to 4 copies. It's a good card. But of course, you always have to remember the caveat that it only can be played when your opponent is at 3 or more energy. So if you go first, this is only a turn 4 play. If you go second, it's a turn 3 play, of course. So you got to keep that in mind, which is why I end up usually just going 3 copies. But I digress. Right? I mean, the card's dumb. I don't really need to elaborate on this. 35 double strike kills some ignoring barrier, make your opponent rip a card. Fantastic, right? This card's a mistake, but you know what? I'm down with it. I'll take my top 16 cards for it. And then I ran 2 copies of the Bojack Tournament Assault. People always ask me, why do you run this card? And then it's like, what do you mean, why do I run this card? This is a 1-cost 30k kill anything.
Yep, and you don't have to interact. It's all part of the activate main, right? So he doesn't need to be played.
Part of the activate main.
So
they can't even CBL it.
Yeah, you can't do anything to stop that KO basically.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me. People are like, oh, why do you run it? I don't think the card's like, dude, this is an on-curve play. You can play this when you're at 4 energy. So what? Oh, it's a turn. Who cares? If I win the dice roll, guess what? That's also a turn 4 play. So what's the difference? There's no difference. These are turn 4 plays either way. And then and honestly, I don't mind if I'm going second. I want to see this by turn 5 anyways, because there is a crazy sequence I will touch upon in a bit. But this being able to just go 30, kill something, swing 30k. And then the beauty of it is it segues perfectly into the next card that I'm going to talk about, which is, of course, the Gogeta Sin. Because you can go Tournament Assault, kill something, swing, and then pay 1 more and go Successor into this by sacking the Bojack instead of one of these. And it's only going to be a 2 energy line of play. And then you go 35 Double Strike, make your opponent rip 2 out of hand, or 35k dual attack, kill 2 cards. Like, this is just a beautiful synergy with each other that like no other card combination is going to do as well. Like, real talk, this is like one of the best like card combinations. It feels so strong to play because that's a 30k swing and then 35 double rip 2 or 35 dual kill 2, right? Like, you're either killing 3 cards or killing 1 ripping 2, and you're doing 30k 35 double or 35 dual. Like, that is a lot of pressure to put on your opponent. And with the Gogeta Sin, of course, because we have so many 8 drops and we have a lot of 4s and everything, the math is very easy to do the Successor. And it also has blocker naturally, which means you do have situations where if you have this on board, you can play the Goku SR, draw 1, and then swing twice with Goku, because this inherently has blocker by default. So if there are situations where your opponent's already killed your Z Unison, and you feel that the Z Unison is just not the play, then you can just do this instead, and your life's good. You're chilling. So obviously the Gogeta Sin, really strong card. Honestly, a mistake the fact that like green and yellow decks can run it, because honestly a lot of yellow decks can use this really well. Wink wink nudge nudge. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, really powerful card. And then this is one of the newer cards I also put in too among these 3, which is Bujin, the Space Pirate Psychic. I always call him Beetle for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I did too. They both start with B,
Right. But basically, you no longer need to run the Dodoria counterplay. You don't really need to run Focus Breakthrough anymore. This kind of just power crept both. So the card says pay 1. If the battle card being played is 2 or less, goes to drop instead of being played. That's it. The only downside is it says limit 1. That is the only downside to the card. It's a limit 1 for the counterplay. That's it. But who cares?
The other ones are restrictive too, right? The Focus Breakthrough, you need to be 4 or less. You can hit 3, but most of the part 2 is kind of all you need for floodgates and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then the Dodoria, you need a Unison in play, which if they remove your Unison, the Dodoria is just dead.
Exactly. So this is just a really good, like, against certain decks, like, we have to think about it this way, right? Like, there are decks where you just have this in your opening hand and you pass your opponent with 1 up, and they need to see a certain turn 1 play, and you just go, yeah, that goes to drop instead of being played. You kind of just win that matchup sometimes. That's just the thing. Like, there's just decks that operate that way, where if they don't see that turn 1 play, you win the game against them, right? But also, this card is obviously great against floodgates. Let's be real here. Topos, Oceanus, all that other fun stuff. You can hit all that, which is great. But also, this is a really good card against Kidku, because you can play something, they go Chaozu, when you go pay 1, hit Chaozu. Or they go, oh, we're going to Bunny Girl, you go, cool, Bujin, right? And then now they can't do the Bunny Girl to bring something else from the drop, because the Bunny Girl goes right to the drop area. And the Bunny Girl has to hit the board to play something from the grave. And then Chaozu, so the Chaozu one's kind of wonky but it's still good, because you basically tell your opponent, you better have a second Chaozu in hand. Because if you don't have a second Chaozu in hand, I go Bujin, you lose your Chaozu, that's it, you're done. You don't get any more. But if you have a second one, they can go Chaozu, do the second Chaozu in response to this. And yes, they still get their dude, but you also force them to waste 2 cards in hand for that. And you still like get this 5k combo on board. And now they still got to choose 1 card to minus. So what are they going to minus? The free 5k combo or the thing they wanted to initially target, right? So you put your opponent in a very awkward spot. I would always recommend this to be run. If anything, you don't think it's helpful, you just sideboard it. And that's the beautiful thing. Because we made sure we have enough extra stuff to sideboard easily, this is one of those cards you can side up for other things anyways, if you know it's not helpful. It's great. And then the overwhelm that I ran was Secret ID. Card's good. I don't really need to elaborate much. Killing tokens is great. Killing, stuff that adds up to whatever cost. It's very nice against Kidku early game. Basically, if you're facing Kidku, there's two opportunities where this card is super clutch. If you watch their drop area and they don't have any skillless cards in their drop area, you can use this to warp like their skillless Earthlings on board, like 2 of them. And then when they go Bunny Girl, you say, okay, go ahead. Oh no, I don't have your skillless in my drop. Okay, get shit on. You should have looked at your drop area, right? So that this ability to just warp those is a big deal. But also, obviously when you face Kidku, every Kidku player is running that dumb Vegito SCR, myself included, because the card's dumb, that stupid Quad Strike Overwhelm SCR. But because they go for the Quad Strike Overwhelm, they've cleared their drop area. So if you survive that, because you just hold an extra card negate, which you should do, right? If you hold an extra card negate and you survive their crackback there, then you can go Secret ID, clear out their board, and because they've already overwhelmed, they probably don't have any Earthling, any skillless in their drop area, so that even if they Bunny Girl, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to get their full value again. So there are timings where you need to just do this at the right moment, and it kind of just makes the matchup a lot easier for you, but it is what it is. And then we ran Cell Xeno as the secret of choice. You can run whatever SCR you want, to be honest, with this deck. Like, Peaceful Resolution is very viable, because you can swing your leader, and then, like, you know, now you're swinging for Quad Strike. Of course, that card's great with this leader. You can go Purunga. Purunga is really good too. You know, rest energy, rip cards out of hand, the board wipe. There's a lot to like about Purunga. Purunga is also great against Kidku because you can do the board wipe and shuffle their board into their deck. So now their Bunny Girl's also trash anyways because they don't have any skills on drop. Guess what? Oh look, there's nothing there to play, right? So there's obviously like other options that make a lot of sense too. But I'm a very aggressive player. I love Cell Xeno. This card is great. Just being able to like especially, just being able to successor and the way that I've set up the list where I have 8 4-drops and I have what's this, 3, 6, 9 8-drops or something like that. Basically, I can do the math there. Fated Rivals is 6+6. I have the easy math to go into what I need to be able to play Cell Xeno pretty consistently every game. The only times I can't play Cell Xeno is if I literally just don't have the other pieces because I just started drawing 1-drops or super combos or something like that. But whatever. But the card is just great. Obviously ripping 3 cards out of hand. I won a lot of games in the regional just because of Cell Xeno. Because I would do my snipes and I would just rip out their hard negates and everything and just win. Not much more to say about Cell Xeno. There is one crazy line of play though in the deck that you can do that's really potent. On your turn 5, you can go pay 2 for Fated Rival Goku, swing with it, kill something, swing with it, 30k double strike, they negate it, who cares, right? You go then Fated Rival Piccolo, swing twice with it, rip 2 cards out of hand, right? You've done 2 25k swings, that's a lot of pressure, right? And then you can go pay 1, play Bojack, kill something, swing 30k, and then you go pay 1, successor the Gogeta, make your opponent discard 2, swing 35 double strike, and then you can go successor Cell Xeno off the Fated Rivals, and rip another 3 cards out of your opponent's hand and go 40 quad, and you probably win the game, in all seriousness, because you've ripped 7 cards out of your opponent's hand just off of effects, and then they got to beat all these swings. That's a 30k, remember, 130 double, 2 25k swings, 1 30k base, another 35 double, and then 2 quad strike swings at 40 base, and then you have your leader swing at 20 base, and if you have your unison, that's another swing at 15 base. And if you have your overwhelm, that's another 25 swing. They're dead. They're not living. You can literally stall on your opponent to turn 5 and just kill them then, right? You can OTK them. If they don't floodgate you, you just win. So just keep that in mind. When people say, why are you running Bojack? This is why, friends. I can do some stupid stuff. This, boom. Life is easy.
Well, even if you don't kill them or they floodgate you and stuff, you still have the ability, I guess, with Piccolo, because you have to swing with his to get the minus. You can still draw them down to 0 cards in hand and then just cripple them for the next turn and just sit on it.
They're in tatters. They're in tatters. They're not living. I'll be honest. Every game where I dropped this, I won. There wasn't a game where me dropping Cell Xeno wasn't a win. Every time I dropped it, I won. So I can say that with pure confidence. And then the negate, the extra card and negate lineup, I guess, but the main negate lineup, I ran 3 copies for the extra cards, was 3 copies of Homicidal Clones. I used to run 2, but because yet again Kidku's popular, and that SS4 Vegito SCR is a dumbass card that was a mistake, because that card was a mistake, honestly. You need to have enough token negates to outplay their skillful SCR, because that one is real skillful, guys. Oh my god. Whew. A lot of brain cells to play that one. Oh my god. But yeah, you have to always hold one for your life. You have to hold it forever until they play that dumbass SCR. Once that SCR is gone, you don't care. The deck is a joke once that SCR is gone. Who cares? But as long as that SCR exists and they haven't played it, you must hold the tokening. Once it's gone, who cares? Do whatever the hell you want. You've won the game. Because that is the only scary card that they can really do to like truly pressure you. And then we went 4 copies of Dormant because we're in aggro meta. You're Dormant, life's good, you know. What more to say? Dormant's dumb. You can also do something kind of like neat against Kidku in particular, where you just force them to Bunny Girl early. Let's say they play their TN so they can hard plus draw. Just Dormant and kill their TN if they swing their TN. Be like, yeah, go ahead, play your Bunny Girl. I don't care. You're still going to do the Floodgate effect anyways. And then if you get the Bunny Girls out of your opponent's hand early and you force them, like, they're going to run 4. But just keep count of everything. See what's in their drop. See what's in their life. See what they charge. If they see them charge 1, they've used 1. Oh, there's 1 in life. Guess what? You forced 1 early. They can only see 1 more in hand, and there's 1 more in life. Well, guess what? They're only going to get 2 more at most, 1 more at most. So you're chilling, right? It's a really cool trick to just force them to use all that stuff early, and then kill the cards they play after the Bunny Girl's been used, because Bunny Girl only triggers because she's unique. So you force them to Bunny Girl, and then kill everything else but the Bunny Girl is what you should be doing. And then you kill Bunny Girl, not give a crap, and then you just keep doing that over and over. And Dormant helps with that, because if they play the TN, you can kill it, of course, and obviously you need to see the Floodgates anyways. And then we went 4 copies of Uneasy. Cards broken. I mean, I don't need to elaborate on this. Cards good. Whenever you need to free negate, you can free negate, but, you know, you have to play around the counters like what do you call it, Hunt and Hidden Ambitions. You have to respect those cards, so you need to, like, we're good players here. We tap in energy for these Floodgates. We just have to. And then, of course, we ran 1 copy of EDK. EDK is great, but honestly, I found myself siding it out for a lot of like other stuff that I needed for certain matchups. But EDK is a good card. I'm never going to say the card's bad. You should run it, but, you know, keep that in mind. But I will say with like the playing around the hunts and stuff like that, there are some tricky things you can do where if you know you have a blocker that's not going to die anyways, you can like technically bait your opponent and go, yeah, I'm going to Dormant for free, and then be like, any response? And then they go, yeah, we'll hunt. You go, cool, I'm going to block that swing. And then when they do their next swing, you go, Uneasing for free, any response? And odds are they probably only, most people only sideboard like 2 hunts or 2 hidden ambitions or whatever. Some people run like multiple, no problem. But like at the end of the day, those counters require an energy. And like, for example, when you're facing Kidku, and energy is a lot for that deck. If they need their SR for 2 energy, right? And their Z battle card is 1 energy. If I make them waste 1 energy on that, and then if, let's say, I do it again, and they waste another energy on that, well, then they only got 2 more energy to work with. So there are things we can do where you can, like, when you know it's safe, you can bait your opponent to using excessive counterplays, but you got to be really careful about that as well. At the end of the day, it is best to just pay 1 and do the Floodgate and call it a day. That's the main list. I would say there's not really much I would change. Maybe I go to 55 copy cards and run 1 copy of Bupo in the main, because the card's kind of good right now in the meta. Maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not certain. I'll be honest with you guys. It's tough to tell. But overall, the list operates really well at what it does. And then, of course, we got our Z deck, which, you know, pretty straightforward boilerplate, I would say. We ran 1 copy of Giro. So with Giro, obviously, when you need a draw and you need to take a life, whatever, you can do that. You know, if your opponent's holding you hostage, they're not letting you go down to 5 or to 4 life, you can always use that. Or whenever you just need a draw late game in a pinch, Giro does a great job for that, of course. Not much more to say about the card. It's good at what it does. One of my friends, this is what he loves. He's just like, yeah, I'll play Giro, and I'll, like, when he awakens, I'll play Giro, put myself from 6 to 5, and then now I have Token Negate live. And when your opponent swings, you go Token Negate, and then they're like, oh, okay, my turn's done. And then now you're at 4 life, and your super combo's live the rest of the game. Of course, that's always a good tactic, but it really depends. I like to delay the Zero for when I really need it because I like to just use my life as an additional resource. I don't want to take myself down from 6 to 5. I want to make my opponent take me down to 6 to 5 themselves, and then I'll take myself to 5 to 4 if I want to, just to make them work for it. I don't want to give them that extra life, but there are situations where it is the play to just put yourself from 6 to 5 and then have a token to get ready and then go from 5 to 4. So, there's some nuances there, but you'll have to figure that out yourself. um, there's the Bojack Z card now. This card is absolutely broken. On play, you can KO any one of your non-unit cards, and you remove 2 markers from an enemy unison. That's already good, because it kind of does what the Jiren does in that aspect. But then also, when one of your cards is, you have 3 more energy, when one of your battle cards is removed from battle area by a skill, including his own auto skill, he can KO anything on your opponent's board, and he becomes a 20k double striker. So this is already fantastic, because this is basically a hybrid between Jiren and Broly, which is really good, because now you're removing markers, and you're killing stuff, and you're getting your double striker. Yeah, you're paying 2 instead of 1 for Broly, but this doesn't need you to do much. You just kill any one of your non-unique battle cards, and you call it a day. And this does give you an argument to run Cell Max. I'm going to let you guys in on some secret spice if you haven't been aware. The Cell Max SCR, you can swing Quad Strike with it. Your opponent goes on a 1, let's say they token negate. You go pay 2, play Bojack. Bojack can kill the Cell Max, and it will trigger the Cell Max auto. The cost ability doesn't say put the card in the drop area, it just says KO the card. So you can KO your Cell Max, trigger the auto, and have Cell Max burn your opponent for a life and wipe their board. So throwing that out there for anybody who wants to be cheesy and cheeky, Cell Max and Bojack is a thing.
Match
3
made in
energy
heaven,
line of
baby.
play.
Or
Match
hell,
made
I
in
don't know.
heaven. Yeah. And then we ran 1 copy of Jiren because Blue can't remove it, and that's hilarious, because if Blue can't remove it, then you probably just win. And if you have a bunch of Z energy, using this, just be like, yeah, we're killing your Boo Unison, or, you're facing Blue, and, you're facing the Blue Boo deck, for example. They force you to Z-charge a bunch of cards, and then they play their stupid Ubesar. You can be like, you know what, I don't really give a shit. I'm going to play this, I'm just going to dump all my Z energy off the activate main, and kill your Boo Unison or your Dabura Unison and just move on with my life. And swing double strike, and you're playing Blue, you can't remove this, so die. So always good against Blue. Green can't remove it either, which is great. Red can remove it, Yellow can negate its skills, Black can only petrify it if they have petrification in hand. Otherwise they can't do dick to it, so card's good, but not in every scenario. But where it's good is very good. We ran 1 copy of the Broly. I mean, y'all know. Y'all have been hit by Broly before. I don't need to elaborate. This card's good. Enough said. But, of course, it dies to Dormant. Green's very popular right now. So this dies to Dormant. It's got no deflect. Same with Bojack. Dies to Dormant. Has no deflect. So there are some risky scenarios there where Jiren at least has deflect. We ran 1 copy of You Fool. I mean, it's just a good card. And there are technically something else you can do with You Fool, which is you normally play it when you play the Triple Strike Goku. But its permanent is also live when you play the Father-Son Solidarity, because it's still an 8-drop Goku. So you can always just play You Fool for free if you have that. And let's say you are running like a field card build where like you're using like Vegeta's Powerball or some Healing Pod build. You can like You Fool for free and that, and now your King Cold Negate is live, like turn 3 onwards, which is nice if you go for that type of build. Just throwing that out there. You Fool's great. Not much more to say there. Actually, in the regional, in the final round, when I faced Kid Ku, my opponent did something smart. I had the 8-drop Goku on board. He went Spirit Boost 1 on Hunted a Demon God from the drop area to negate his skills, and then he played the Vegito SCR and he said swing in and swing in. Right here, it ripped like a super combo out of my hand or something, and I went cool. I'm gonna go ahead and Dormant for free, and then I was really hoping he would dump his hand because I could do the redirect and send the Vegito attack to the Goku. But I was sitting there and waiting for him to combo everything, and he did a very smart thing. He said, hold on a second, let me read this card. I'm like, by all means, my friend. And he saw the second activate battle. He was like, oh, I'm not going to combo. I'm like, no problem. I'm going to do the redirect. My Goku goes to 45. He doesn't die. And he's like, well, shit. I'm like, yeah, but, good on you. Because if he dumped there, I'm chilling. Life's good. So, you can always do that to people. But honestly, kudos to my opponent for not falling for that. Good on him, honestly. Very, very, very smart player. Actually, to actually sit down and be like, let me actually read my opponent. Because let's not be your typical Dragon Ball player.
Well,
so,
typical Dragon Ball players don't even read their own cards. So what do you thought?
Right? And then we ran 1 copy of Mighty Blast. Mighty Blast is obviously good. You could maybe run 2 copies as well. It's really good in this meta because the free ability kills the 3 or less, which means Kid Ku's 30Ks can't necessarily kill you for lethal, and their Z battle card SR can't kill you because it's a 3-drop. Because you can just have this in a Z energy, just look at them and be like, yeah, go ahead. You can't kill me. And if you have 3 Z energy, they can't kill you with their 5-drop SR either because this kills 5 or less. So then now they can't kill you with the 30k double striker. So that's what I was saying earlier, where it's like, if you have the good flow of the game, the good control of the game, once that Vegito SCR is gone, they can't really do much to kill you if you have certain stuff ready, like the Mighty Blast, for example. They can't kill with their double striker. You just look at them like, yeah, no, it's not happening. Or you can't kill with that one. This helps a lot. It's very, very good insurance in this current meta. And then we ran 4 copies of the Varrock Unison because people love to kill it, and I'm fine with that. If they want to waste their resources to kill this, that's fine by me. It's a great card, does what it does, draws cards. If I need to pitch a card, perfectly good. You could maybe run some variation where it's 3 of this and 1 Oolong. That's fine too, but I mean, the Varrock Unison is just, it's obviously the best unison for this deck. There's just no reason not to run it. And it's best, in Aussie, it's the best unison in a lot of other decks too, real talk. But that's the Z deck, and then all that stuff really is the sideboard. And I'll talk about my matchups quickly. We ran 2 copies of Blue Impulse. Kid Ku exists. They like to play cards on your turn. Tapion exists. Likes to play cards on your turn. People like to play token negates. I don't know. The card's good. You might even. There's honestly an argument to just mainboard it, like swap 1 Bujin and 1 Blue Impulse, maybe even. If you have your Unison out, it costs 1. Otherwise, you just pay 2. It came up in the regional against Kid Ku actually. I didn't have my Unison out, but I did something. You played a card. I'm like, cool, pay 2, wipe your board. And he's like, oh, bye. Right? Not much more to say. Card's really, really good. Koitsukai, really good card. You know the meta. Everybody likes playing token negates. Everybody likes playing stuff on your turn. And it's really potent against Kid Ku again because you just pay 1, do the ability, and be like, all right, go ahead, Shoutsu. Go ahead, use your Bunny Girl. I don't give a shit. You're going to warp your whole hand if you want to do that stuff. So by all means, do your worst. We ran 3 copies of the Demigra. This is for the Vegito matchup. You see this early. They can't keep their blocker guys. Makes your life easy. You know, zippity doo dah, right? It's fantastic. For the SGR, we ran 2 copies of Laden Power. Y'all know. Removing markers from Z Unison, really important. Not much more to elaborate there. That's mainly what it's for. In a pinch, you can always pay 2, play it, and go 25k crit, kill something, and it can't be removed by skills for a turn cycle. It's a good card. At the end of the day, you should have it either in your main board or sideboard. Either way, in this current meta, everybody's running Z Unisons or even normal Unisons, so just run it, guys. It's there. It's there for a good reason. We ran 2 copies of Hunt of the Demon God because green is popular. People like to free negate. Blue has dormant, not dormant, you call it dimension magic.
No, that would be a hell alter dimension.
That would be
magic,
scary.
Dormant.
I mean, Surge Piccolo.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hunt of the Demon God, hell of a card. Answers a lot of stuff. And there's another big reason to run it, which is the Aegis Gogeta matchup. Green really sucks against that deck because they can't remove the SCR. And it just says, when this is in your drop area, pay 1, Spirit Boost 1, negate the skills of the SCR, and then just kill it with literally anything in your deck, and your life is easy. Really important for that matchup. You really need it, and yeah, obviously it's really good against a lot of stuff. But honestly, when you go into regionals, your opponents are usually good, especially if you keep winning and you're in the top tables. Your opponents don't fall for Hunt. They don't free negate, unless they have absolutely no other choice. They don't free negate. They pay 1 for their negates. So this ends up like not always being used, where you just have it there, the threat of it exists, but you actually never end up using it. So honestly, there are sometimes arguments where you're just like, you know what, how about I just don't run the card at all? And who cares? Because my opponent's always just going to pay 1 anyways, which is kind of weird because it's kind of like a sunken cost fallacy, but it's like, you should have it, because if they don't, you just win the game. And, you know, Beyond the Spirit Boost negate something skills is always great. And I guess the card, it also says the card can't attack the next turn, which is great too, but, you know, whatever. We ran 2 copies of the Majin Exterminator. I mean, you know, how someone plays hand control, you just play this out, and, you know, they go Father-Son Duo Swing. Cool, play this, draw a card, yada yada, right? Unfortunately, with how the current meta state is, you not only do you have to side this against green, you have to side this against yellow because they have the Gogeta Sin card, and yellow has access to the Porunga SCR. So you need to side this against yellow as well nowadays. So just keep that in mind. You need this against yellow too. And against certain known people in the community who like to mainboard Topo in all their red decks, they know who they are. They're good friends, very good players. Probably side this against those individuals too, because when they go Topo, you can have these in your hand and go, yeah, I'm going to draw 2, thanks. So just throwing that out there. And then we ran 2 copies of Bardock Fully Unleashed. This card is god tier. It saved me. I literally won. One of my matchups was against Fu, and I only won because of this card. I put this in my sideboard for the Rainbow Gogeta matchup, mind you, because the Rainbow Gogeta deck will try and kill you on turn 3, turn 4, and they flood the board with a bunch of ACOS, and some of those ACOS have Revive, and you're playing green. You don't want to play into their hand and let them bring back their Vegeta and draw a card, and then you have to kill it again. That's a lot of work, where you can just go overwhelm, warp all their Aatrops, and move on with their life, because their 20Ks don't matter. They're trash. But it's also really good against Fu, it just so happens, and it really saved me. There is an argument, and this is also good against Shadow Dragons, because their best cards in Shadow Dragons are 8 cost or higher, so being able to warp those is good, and obviously it's good against... It is not bad against green as well, because green has a lot of 8 drops, and 6 drops. Actually, they have a lot of 6 drops too, honestly. But like, you just warp all their bigger stuff, and it makes your life easier, because then you're not wasting your kill effects on those things. You can use the kill effects on like blockers or other stuff instead. So there is an argument to running Bardock Fully Unleashed there, but mainly I would say Rainbow Gogeta, Fu, Shadow Dragons. That is the main 3 things you want to run this in, and my god, does it do a fantastic job against those things. This card is really, really good. I'm glad I put it in. I would have lost one of my matches if I didn't. This is a really, really good card. Do not sleep on it. Get your copies. It's cheap. Mythic Booster reprint. Let's go. But that was the main list. Well, the main list, sideboard, and Z deck, everything there. I honestly don't know what I would change necessarily. Like I said earlier, maybe I go to 55 and put in a Bupo. Maybe I cut one card somewhere and run a Bupo because it is good in the meta. But other than that, there isn't much more I would change. There is an argument to maybe going down to 2 copies of this and putting in a Bigamore, because Bigamore is good. Like, it is actually pretty good. It's good obviously against the Vegito deck. It's good against U7. It's good against the Rainbow Gogeta deck, and Bigamore is also good against Aegis Gogeta, because then they can't kill you. If you just Bigamore every turn, just keep ripping their hand and keep swinging. You don't care. So there is some arguments there for that as well. So I just don't know where I would make the cut to make room for it, because like, you look at this, you're like, yeah, where would I put this in, right? Like, this is kind of tough. So I don't know. That's like the only thing I would consider is like Bupo and Bigamore, maybe, but you're gonna have to make a really tough decision there. And then obviously, like, when you go into next set, you have that Vegito Zenison, which you can just put like 1 copy in, because the Bardock is still just better for this deck. But, you know, that's a whole nother matter there. I'm not worried about that right now. But otherwise, that's the main, that's the whole deck there. And then with regards to the regionals, we ended up only playing 5 rounds. Mind you, the reason we only played 5 rounds is because I was the down pair in the last round, and I beat the gentleman in the last round. So I ended the regional early. So
it's you motherfucker. Everyone that was looking for their bubble outs.
Right. But basically, my round 1 matchup was Reboot Cell. I faced Andrew Tan, who is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best, Reboot Cell players in Canada, and honestly one of the best in North America. He's a really, really strong player, really, really good friend, just a stand-up guy, very good player.
That motherfucker has been playing that deck since the deck even was announced. He was smelling the packages coming in. Every time I see him paired against that guy and anything, it's just like, fuck, now I gotta face Cell.
Exactly. But I barely had him. I'll be honest with you. I only got him because I did some really good snipes with Cell Xeno. And he put a lot of pressure on me. Like, he did a double strike crit on me, took me from 6 to 4. And I'm like, motherfucker. And it was a lot of pressure he put in. He sided in Titan Toppler to make it so that my 8-drop triple strike Goku would have its skills negated. Like, he did a lot of really smart lines of play. But ultimately, what I did was a really smart line of play too. Was late game. I think I had him at like 1 or 2 life. I think I had him at two. I don't remember. I think I had him at like 2 life or something like that. And I intentionally went Cell Z. I did one swing. He did Dormant. I said, okay, whatever. Then I went right into Cell Zeno, and I ripped the 3 cards out of his hands. And the cards that ripped out of his hands were all were like 2 negates and something else. So I hit all the negates that he had. And then before I swung with Cell, I went, you know what? I'm gonna pay 1 and go into the Gogeta Sin, ripped another 2 cards out of his hand, and then I think I either swung with Cell Zeno or I swung with the Gogeta for lethal, and I got him there. Like, I think that's what I ended up doing. But I basically ripped a bunch of cards out of his hand and I made it so he couldn't do any negates. And I went, yeah, I'm just gonna dump my hand. Can you beat it? He's like, no, I can't. I'm like, all right. And he played really smart. Like, I recited in the SGRs because for the Bardock Unison, and I couldn't remove it because like I would combo cards and hope he would use the auto, but he's like, no, I'm not using my Unison auto. I'm not using it. I'm like, motherfucker, I can't get this SGR in. So the only way I'd be able to kill the Bardock Unison is to SGR is the only way to do it. Then if you double SGR, he can only pick one, so then you're good. But he was very, very smart. Like if you face Andrew 10, understand, he's gonna beat your ass. He's really good. Just understand that. I got a little lucky, honestly. He's a really, really strong player. And then round 2, I faced Nova Shenron. It was Scott. He's actually from Winnipeg, I think. He's in locals with Petrillo on our team, actually. They're all in their locals together, so it was cool to see some of Miguel's buddies. And Miguel, we should talk to you a lot, buddy. You should have come to the regional, man. Would have been a good time. But either way, very nice guy. He was playing Nova. Unfortunately for Nova, the deck is super reliant on unisons, and if you just keep killing the unison, the deck doesn't do anything. And that's all I did was I kept attacking the unison, and he ended up playing like 3 copies of the Zenus in that game, but I just kept killing. I didn't care. I'm like, yeah, I don't care about your life. I'm killing the only way your deck functions, and I just kept attacking, and I eventually just ended up winning. But I also, because you're facing yellow, y'all gotta understand something really important. You have to play around that Gogeta SCR, and that's what I kept doing. Because at one point he started asking, how much cards do you have inactive? And I'm like, that's a weird question to ask. I better make sure I have less than, like, you know, maybe only 5 cards in rest or 6 cards in rest, so he can't just go Gogeta SCR into 7-drop Frieza, right? Because that's what I thought he was running. Turns out he was running Gohan Piccolo, which also cares about cards you have in rest, so by me playing around the 1 card, I also played around his SCR, the Gohan Piccolo, but that wasn't intentional, that was accidental. I was playing around the scarier one, but it ended up working out in the end for me, and I'm glad I did it that way, because if I didn't, I would have died. But just remember, when you're facing yellow guys, don't tap out unless you know you can get the kill that turn. Don't do it, because they will crack back, and then you're going to get a quad strike 45k and a 30k triple strike that says if you negate, you're going to crit a life as cost. So just understand that. Don't play stupid games against yellow, especially against Shadow Dragons, because my god, they can start triple striking you really early, and they can go Gogeta Sin really early, and you're going to feel the pain. So just respect that. And then round 3, I faced Ryan, who's on Fu. I think he ended up topping the region. I think he bubbled out. Either he came 8th. I think he actually came 8th. But he was playing Fu, and maybe he came 9th. I don't know. But either way, he's one of the best Fu players I faced. The only person who's giving me as much of a hard time was Isaiah on our team. So like those 2 are just godly Fu players, and he did some really cool stuff. He really stifled a lot of plays I wanted to do. He played things very calculated and very carefully. Very, very strong player, very stand-up guy. Just a great match all around. In all honesty, only reason I won, I ran that overwhelm. If I didn't have that overwhelm, I was dead. I was not going to survive the crackback. He literally had like 8 battle cards on board, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, what do I do? So just understand, Fu, it's not out there. It's not dead, guys. Fu is really strong, and you got to keep in mind, it plays at 20Ks. Kid Q only minus is 15. It can't really clear the whole board, so just remember that. If you like playing Fu, don't let it gather dust. Play that shit. Deck's good. But I barely got him, but Fu is very good against Green Goku. It's got a very a very, very good matchup against it. It draws a lot of cards, it sees a lot of pieces that it needs, and it has pseudo hand control that also pressures you. You have to respect Fu. It's a very strong deck. Yet again, only reason I won was because of that Bardock Overwhelm, which any deck can run. That isn't me outplaying him or anything like that. It's just that card is dumb, and that's all there is to it. If that card didn't exist, I die. And then round 4, I faced Travis. He was on Vegito Xeno. He ended up actually beating me. He ended up finishing second place. Very smart player. He played, and mind you, I'm the one who's countering him, and I did a lot of stuff to counter him. But he also played very smart. He just decided, you know what, I'm not even going to bother swinging for the first 2 turns. He just chilled, let me take him down on life, and gave him the combo phase he needed to build up his Z energy, do his stuff. And then what ended up happening anyways was on my turn 4, I got a little greedy. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I tapped out on turn 4 and passed to him, where maybe I should have held the energy instead, which may have bit me in the ass. So maybe I should have just held an energy there, because obviously he had Hunt and all that other stuff. But I played the Goku blocker. He removed it with his Overwhelm. He used the counterplay card, but he overwhelmed it as the first thing he did that turn to get rid of my Goku blocker, so I can only kill that. And then he started playing other stuff, which pressured me, where if I just held, I played it cool and maybe held that energy, that might have actually been the better play instead of playing the blocker Goku there. But I also saw 0 super combos that game, where it was at one point when he did get his kill shot on me, where if I had just seen 1 super combo, I survived that turn, and then I probably do get him on the crackback because I had Cell Xeno in hand, and I had the combinations ready, like the pieces needed to push for the kill there. So I was very well done by him. Honestly, he did a fantastic job. I'm not going to say, oh, I only lost because of super combo. Obviously, yeah, that was a big factor, but he genuinely played the game very well, and a huge shout out to him, because that was his first ever regional, and then man finished second. Like, good shit, buddy. You fucking did great. Seriously. And then the final round, I ended up facing Jordan, who was on Kidku, and he's one of Travis's buddies as well. They're actually all locals with Phoenix Rising. Shout out to him as well. Rising Phoenix, sorry. They're all fucking great players, nice guys. But he was on Kidku, and he played Kidku very, very well. Very, very smart. Very, very patiently. He played the value game, and I only won due to time rules, honestly. I won in time. We were at 8 energy. We were at like 8 energy. Like, it was like turn 8. So like it was a long.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, energy. Yeah. Like, we're playing aggressive decks, and it's like we're in turn 8. So just want to make that clear. Like, I only won in time rules. I was at 4 life to his 1 life. I did something which I don't regret. I think was the right play no matter what, which is I went very aggressive on my early turn 2 because I went first. I went very aggro on my turn 2 to force him down to 4 life early. And the reason I do this, people, is if you force the Kidku player to 5 life or to 4 life, they're more likely than not, they will not play the Z extra that puts 2 life under at that point if they're already at 4 or 5 life. They just will not do it. They will not do that. But what they will do if you put them at that life total 5 or 4 life, is they'll put themselves to 4, or they're already at 4, they'll play the Mighty Blast instead. But you also got to watch a lot of lists. A lot of lists are only running 1 copy of Mighty Blast. So what that means is if they want their Explosive Dance to be live, they either have to play that other one later on, or they can't use their Mighty Blast for the mid game. They can only use it for the late game once they're out of Explosive Dances. So you should take Kidku down to 4, and then play the stall defensive game against them, and start outvaluing them with like your dudes. Unfortunately for me, my draws were really awkward, and I was like, man, I didn't see any super combos against Travis, and then all I did early against Jordan was only see super combos. You're like, dude, I don't need super combos right now. I need my other stuff. It was literally the flip side. I'm like, this is kind of annoying, but I ended up winning in time. And yeah, that's really but like, to be honest, like, if it wasn't for the time stuff, I don't know if I would 100% be able to get the kill on him. He ended up running like the Roshis. He ended up like building up the Stonewall. Like, I cleared his board. He button grilled back into Roshi, and he walled up again. And it's like, that's a lot of stuff to like deal with, right? So it ended up like, but Blue Impulse still helped me a lot in that matchup, and a lot of other stuff. Like, the stuff that I cited helped out. Everything that I did made sense. But ultimately, you're in a regional, and I don't play at a time. We both played our turns very quick. We did everything as we could, as efficiently as possible. But at the end of the day, a game's got to end, time's going to get called, and sometimes you're just going to win that way. I don't like the time scum people, but, you know, sometimes it's the only way you're going to win is to stall the game out, and it is what it is, right? I did try to kill him legitimately, though. Like, the judge was like, oh, time's called. I was doing my swing for trying to go for lethal. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's fine. I know I win, but I'm going to dump my hand. I want to see if I can actually kill him. But he ended up getting super combos from the life that I gave him when I took him down to 1. But, like, had time not been called, I only had maybe one other action where I play Giro to draw a card and add a life, and then maybe play something else to draw, and maybe play Celzino then, and maybe be able to push for lethal. Like, that was the only other thing, like, maybe I could do. But it was very, very tight, very, very close. He's a very, very good player. And yet again, that was his first regional as well. And if I didn't beat him, he would end up going to the final round against James for, like, first place, right? So obviously, huge shout out to him. Very good player. And obviously, you know, Rising Phoenix, you did a great job, man. You trained those guys up good. They did really well. So shout out to you as well. But yeah, that's the regional. Honestly, it was a good time. Saw a lot of cool faces. Saw a lot of great friends. Saw Armando. It was great. It was great to see Armando. Great guy, great player. But yeah,
amen.
Other than that, you know, shout out to G3. Shout out, you know, to the whole team. You know, with the prep and everything. Of course, shout out to my boy James for winning the whole event. You know, good on you, James.
Good fucking transition there. That's, if you guys look fucking in the description below, we're gonna have his deck list on the Game 3 channel. Yes, we have a new Game 3 channel. Go check it out. There's a bunch of deck lists, both Masters and Fusion World. I think it might be one Fusion World deck list on there, but that's a bunch, you know. Maybe it'll be another one by the time you look at it. But yeah, no, perfect. Thanks so much for showing off the list. And big shout out to both you and James for getting those tops, because he got first, you got fourth, fucking killing it for Game 3 up in Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. Did you guys go to party at the casino after, or what?
No, we went to Game 3 and played a box tournament where I won.
Well, there you go. Did you get an SCR out of the box?
No.
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 Unfortunate.